It worked.
Wow, it worked. Good stuff. Welcome.
You did a great job.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
can I ask Paul a quick question?
Absolutely, your show.
Yeah. No, it's not mine. It's actually Rob's. So,
Well,
hopefully
to me,
I'm
it's
not
all
gonna,
your show,
hopefully
so.
I'm not cutting his grass. In the
We wing
pictures
it
there,
here, you know that.
was that you dipping your back tire in which ocean?
That would have been the Pacific.
No, that was the Atlantic, because that was down the street from me.
Well, I'd have to see the picture again, but I thought that
Yeah.
was not the Pacific photo, or was that the Atlantic one?
That was the Atlantic photo.
Okay.
Because it was on my computer.
Oh, okay.
Very cool.
Yeah, because I was down at Mill Cove, just down the street at that boat ramp there. So anyway, welcome everyone. Starting to see some people. There's Military Biker, Cal. So we got a crowd building, which is great.
Yeah.
So I'm going to start by introducing our, guest of honor, so to speak. So I've met Paul through the Rolling Barrage, and he came out to Halifax a few times, so got to know him a little bit. But so Paul, tell us about yourself, where you're from, what you do, what you ride today.
Sure. So Paul Harman, I got a day job that's the Royal Canadian Air Force. So I'm an avionics tech in the Air Force. Currently a sergeant. I'm working as an airworthiness auditor in DTAS with Doctorate of Technical Airworthiness. But normally I'm a aircraft tech, fixing airplanes. 34 years in the Air Force right now, or I'm on my 34th year. Retiring within the next few. We'll see what happens. There is change in the wind this summer, so I just haven't announced it yet. We're just getting a few things lined up, but there is change coming. So
yeah, a lot of the post-COVID postings.
Yeah, so things are about to happen for us, which is a positive. It'll be, and then my wife's retiring. She's also in the Air Force, so she'll be retiring from the Air Force when her medical stuff goes through for PTSD, and then shortly after that, it'll be life on the bike and enjoying the world, and a home on each coast and somewhere in the middle in between. So
sounds good. We'll just quickly go around the bazaars here for the other guys. Kevin, you want to tell everyone who you are, what your channel is?
Sure. I'm Kevin, Superman Kev, 2001. And my channel, we do a little bit of everything. We try to have fun, and we poke fun at everybody, and we do a little bit of minor repairs and stuff like that. Mostly my misgivings on the repairs. But anyway, I think most everybody's checked out my channel, but that's me, Superman Kev, 2001. And welcome everyone.
Yeah. Thank you. Dave?
Hey, I'm Dave, and the channel Harley's Diners Rides. And both my wife and I, Lorelei, and I ride. She rides a 2008 Deluxe. I ride a 2007 Street Glide. And we travel, pretty much wherever we want to go. We also have a toy hauler, a 38-foot Wolfpack toy hauler that we throw the bikes in the back. And we're getting it ready because we're heading to Americade first week of June this year. So that's going to be our first rally of the year.
Nice.
Thanks, Rob.
Yeah. And for anyone that doesn't know me, I'm Rob, also called Dead Knot. So I see some activity in side chat. As I mentioned, Cal, I think he's down in Florida now. That snowbird biker. Motor Ramblings. Angel Face is here. Saw the Military Biker stick his head in. Riding Humboldt County from California. Stopped in earlier but had to go. Larry 68 HD. I think I've covered everyone.
Angel Face is in. She's joined us.
Oh, and Richard. Yeah, I was talking to him earlier today.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
the interesting thing about Cal, he's just getting ready to head off on his cross-country tour.
He's on Route 66. I just remembered that now, yeah.
Yeah, so we wish him all the best.
Yeah. And speaking of which, speaking of people on epic journeys, Craig and Lucinda, Moto Travels, have started their 5-4-3-2-1 event.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, with the short version of going west from Vancouver.
That'll be a first.
So what's a 5-3-2-1 event?
So last week, it's 5 months. I honestly can't even remember.
5 months, 4 corners of the country,
That's it.
three oceans, 2 people or 2 bikes,
Mhm.
and 1 country.
Nice.
But
So
they're all,
so they're leaving Vancouver,
Yeah.
over to Vancouver Island, up to Port Hardy, ferry to Prince Rupert, then up to Tuck,
Okay.
back down, but then on the Pan America, heading across without coming back down all the way to BC, across the I can't remember the highway, over to Yellowknife, then down across the top of the prairies like Thompson, Manitoba, then down to Winnipeg.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
It's how fortunate for a guy. I'm going to do a cross country trip, and maybe I'll drive the Pan America. Maybe I'll drive the Road Glide.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's the road like today?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, horrible choices. Like no,
Yeah.
because they have a trailer they're hauling with a spare bike in it, and or both bikes, but they also made it a small RV. They were our guests last week. Worth checking out. So, back to more about Paul. Talk to us about your motorcycle riding story. What got you into it, and when did you
Sure.
start riding? Give us your riding history. When did the bug hit you, and that kind of stuff?
It hit me very, very, very young. So Dad had an old little Yamaha 350, little standard setup back when I must have been 7 or 8. So on the back of that, and all over Vancouver, I grew up on the West Coast and in BC. So we were all over the back areas and enjoying life. And he looked at me and said, "You want to start riding?" And it's like, absolutely. So I started at 10 with a dirt bike, just a Briggs and Stratton pull start, and moved up to a Honda XR75. Then I went into street bikes later on as I hit my teens. Co-owned a YZ 350, the little two-stroke crotch rocket. Couldn't afford it on my own, so a buddy and I went in on it for a little while. Had a Shadow 500 for a while after I joined the Air Force, just something to keep me going and keep riding. It was the first couple of years of my military career and the end of the Gulf War, so I decided I was going down to Key West, Florida, so I jumped on that, rode it all the way down, a little shaft drive 500. Did that out of Cornwall, Ontario, and back. And now I ride a 15 Fat Bob, an FXDF. So it's my dream bike. When I joined the Air Force, I wanted a blacked out Sturgis. It was the first quasi blacked out bike, and I've wanted that ever since. And now I got her, and that's pretty much it. I've done all sorts of riding, from solo riding to massive group packets. I probably got almost 2 decades of large group riding under my belt, between clubs, riding motorcycle clubs, to large groups like the Rolling Barrage, etc. But yep, anything that's been over 10 bikes, almost sometimes 30 to 100. So
Now, before we went live, you mentioned it's not exactly stock.
no, it's not. So I'll just do a quick thing. She got a little updated recently, but that should be share.
And but oof.
Okay, so that's mine. Wife's in the background, so I've got a 15 Fat Bob. We blacked her out. She's in that picture. She was what we bought her at as a 103 stage 3. Few little add-ons with the fairing and the bags, quick release, so I can go bagger to brawler in about 5 to 10 minutes, depending on which direction. 2-to-1 exhaust, heavy breather, and then she wanted the same thing. This black one was her learner bike, and then she went over to the red one later. She wanted, so she got the 110, and then this summer, mine finally gave it the go. She's got 124,000 K on her, not light miles, so she just recently got updated to an SNS 124.
Now, last year, Her bike, I felt, was louder than yours. Has that been changed?
I'd say they're on par now because of the Bassani 2-to-1 road rage. The way that they come in, like there's really not much more difference. But I'm running earplugs when I ride, anyways, and we did a couple of rides already with them, and they almost sound like they're in tune. There's still some final tuning that has to go on with mine before it's dialed in. It's brand new out of the gate, so I'm still on the break-in period. So it's a little early to tell. It may be louder. The mechanic sent me a vid clip before the exhaust went on, and I was a little concerned because it sounded like anti-aircraft guns going off. But with the muffler on it, it sounds pretty good. So I'll let you guys be the judge on TRB, or if we come rolling past your areas, you can let me know which you prefer. But
You still have the one with the red tins?
yeah, so that red tank is the wife's, and that's a 17 Fat Boy S. So
those tins, those are great.
Yeah, so that was a special edition. Do I still have the pickup, or did I close it? No, I closed it like a dummy. So it's I've got another one here. This is our camping setup. This will be a little easier to see. So that's hers. It's a special edition, the 100th anniversary of Harley in Canada in 2017. So it was a special edition paint job. We were picking mine up from the dealer, and she saw that sitting there, and that's what she wanted, was a Fat Boy S with the 110. And she just wanted me to do the same thing with the stage, the heavy breather, and the 2-to-1 pipes. So this is intermediate. She now has a fairing and bags on it as well. The tent trailer goes behind mine, even though it matches her paint job. So I got a little bit more experience, so I do the towing, which is fine by me. But that was the other modification. Oh, there's the other picture, but that's fine. Yeah. So that's
very sharp.
That's the special. The other addition that we did to mine to get it to go was a custom hitch, and this was made out of Manitoba. So they did a great job. They matched the lines with the back end of the bike, and then the bags. Pretty stoked about it. It works great. They put it right along the axle. So it's a sweet little setup. Pulls nice. I mean, when that rig is going, it's whoops. I'm sucking at this today. So it just folds up. Oh, I close it. Never mind. Anyway, I'll just jump off of that. I'm looking like a doof. So we'll just
too many windows open.
Oh. And then he closed himself out.
We'll wait for him to pop back in.
Yeah.
And
just for the side channel, it is not the Canadian guys that are having technical difficulty today. For once, we are here still.
Yeah. So while we're waiting for Paul to come back, let's looks like Ron Hanna's in the side chat now.
Yeah.
I think Angel's picking on him.
Yeah.
Here he is.
And of course, I hit the wrong button. So
yeah, I can kill those here much easier. So
yeah. So anyway,
that's funny.
That's our little setup. That's kind of what we do. So we do a lot of bike camping in the summer outside of TRB. So we got a nice little place across the border we had to, and spend a few days by the river and build up the exemption as we're down there picking up motorcycle parts or booze or food or whatever we want. And we're just like less than an hour from our campground, so from the house. So
nice.
Yeah. So rather than having a toy hauler, I've got a toy that hauls. So
yeah. And you can go a lot more places than I can. Right.
Yes and no. It's not self-contained. It's a tent trailer. Like the one picture, it's when it's packed up, the top becomes the floor, and it just pops up, and it's a bed on the inside. It's a Leisure Light Excel. They're originally made out of a Soyuz in BC, but now they're out of somewhere in the States, I think Texas or something. They moved them. They moved the factory down there. The folks sold it, but yeah, it's a great little rig. The two of us are comfy. The bed's made all the time. We're off the ground, full standing 7-foot height on the inside. If the rain really gets bad, we can tuck the chairs in and just sit inside and not worry about it. It's got an attic room. So actually, we've got 2 attic rooms, so we can have a garage and a sitting area. Life's awesome.
Right. Great. Oh, great setup. Well,
So it sounds like you may have answered this question already, but do you have like a best day trip or a loop? Because you sound like you go to this fairly similar spots most of the time. It's not that far away.
No,
What's your
actually,
best
I've
loop?
I've got quite a few loops that I do to get away and clear the head. So my thing is I got to be by water or twisties, mountains, hills. Living in Ottawa right now, that gives me a few areas to go. Um, Manitoba, I had one route that I could do, and it was a half hour, and that was it. So it was kind of repetitious. Um, I've it depends on how much time I've got and where I can go. There's a nice route that I can do that hugs the water all the way up to Petawawa. I can cross the bridge into Quebec, come back all the way down just north of Hawkesbury on the Quebec side, Grenville, I think, or Grenville, I can't remember. Grab a steamer and a poutine, and then cross the bridge, and then hug the water on the way back up, and pass some beautiful homes and some nice territories, and just gorgeous stuff. That's an all day ride for me, and I'll do a combination of any of that, or down to Kingston to see friends down a couple of the back roads that twist, and I can almost drag me. Can't really drag me on my Harley anymore like I used to on sport bikes, but you know I can still clip if I need to. So life's good.
Yeah.
Sweet. So, although we've already had technical entertainment, we do ramble on about different tech items for riding. You know, do you have any favorite tech toys?
So yes and no. I've limited how much tech toys I'm taking. One being an avionics tech, I don't want to fix shit, so it's I'm done. You know, at the end of the day. But no, I run a Cardo headset. I run the phone that Bluetooths to it, so I've got my tunes, I've got the phone, I got the maps. Pretty simplistic setup. I want to keep it simple. It's more about the ride for me than the rest of it. I did buy cameras. I never installed them. I'll probably do a front and rear camera just for if there is a collision or road rage incident. I've got some sort of evidence. That's about the only thing I think I'll be left to do. Most of my tech stuff was built into the bike for the ride. So
Tom in the side chat is asking about people from BC.
No, he said, are any of you from BC? So I put, you're from Nova Scotia, Paul's from Ontario, and same with Kevin and I.
I'm living in Ontario. I'm from BC. I grew up in there.
Yeah, I'm from BC, living in Nova Scotia.
So there you go.
So back to the tech talk. You know, Wayne's not here, so we actually have the three least tech guys here, and I'm like Harm. My cell phone goes in a saddlebag. I don't have a mount for it. You know, and I don't have one of those tracking apps. I just recently got a Cena headset, and I've made like 2 or 3 phone calls with it just to test it. And I've only been able to connect to another rider, Ian, once on the way to the Blessing of the Bikes, and haven't really played with it much else.
Yeah.
What about you, Dave?
I'm not Wayne, but I've got a bunch of cameras now. I just finished picking up an Insta One 360 that I still in the box. I haven't tried it yet, but for SLR, or I've got a Canon M50. I've got a GoPro Black 8 and a Session 5, and now I've got the 360 that I'm going to try out. But yeah, I'm just kind of wanting to know which is the simplest to use in the sense of, you know, capturing video.
Yeah. Kevin?
Well, you know what? I like to use my phone a lot. I'll use the phone for GPS.
You're a little bit weak on the audio now. Did you do something?
Did I do something different?
Yeah.
Is it so slow?
Keep talking.
Okay, I'm talking. Is it, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but you got weaker all of a sudden.
You're like in a little can.
I wonder, it's what?
It's like you're in a little can.
wonder if that's better.
That's
There-
yeah.
There you are, Stanley. And what's the weather like in your neck of the woods today?
For me, I use my phone a lot, and I use an old school iPod, and I get a lot of ribbing from some of the people when they see my videos because I'm using a big 160 gig iPod, but I like it because it's got 16,000 songs on it, and I never run out.
That's why I went to the phone with the Bluetooth headset with the Cardo. I don't have any more wires. It's all set up.
Mhm.
I always rode with earplugs, so a stereo on the bike was useless to me because earplugs for me was back on the old highway days for the buffeting on the helmet. It reduces the fatigue, so I went with earplugs, and now with the Bluetooth, I've got all my tunes. I got a little 512 gig card in my phone, so I've got even more that I had than when it was on my little iPod. So it's awesome.
That's a good point. You know, I spent a fair bit on a stereo for my Street Glide. You know, Rockford Fosgate.
Yeah.
You know, 6x9 speakers in the back. You know, 6.5 in the front. You know, 100 amp. Power amp in the thing, and I hardly turn it on. And to tell you the truth, I'm doing the same setup you are now. I've got both Sena and I've got a Sena set of headphones that I put on, and I listen to the music there, and it's a lot. You know, I could never figure out. You know, you'd be driving along the highway, and you have to crank your stereo, and you can't even hear the 6x9s because the wind's pushing the sound out the back of the bike. So, you know, the only time you really got the beauty of the full sound system is when you're at a traffic light. And then you turn it down. So,
Well, a lot of people don't turn it down. You just were the rare Harley rider that does.
yeah, I can't hear the people swearing at me beside me, right? You know, telling me to shut up. And, anyway, sorry.
Yeah.
I
So,
digress.
we're all back to the side chat. I see Tom Buckley's from Vancouver Island's on there, and
Mhm.
Craig is there. So I don't know if you heard our earlier shout out to him.
Yeah, he's checking in from Victoria, BC.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, because Craig, we gave a plug to your 54321 tour.
Yeah, we're hoping that everything is going well so far.
Yeah.
It was a ferry ride in 50 kilometers.
Yeah. And now, when we find out more from Paul, I wonder if Craig and you are going to cross paths at some point in time in your cross Canada.
It's possible. I don't know their route, so I haven't.
Probably not.
Yeah, I don't
looked
know.
at both routes, and I don't expect it.
Yeah.
I haven't seen his routes.
You guys will be going probably through Nipawa, and he'll be coming around higher up and then down from Thompson, Manitoba.
This is the one that's doing the 54321 tour, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I don't know the routes, so I can't.
Yeah,
do
no,
it
I've
so well.
looked at it, but yeah.
But we are stopping in Nipawa. If they're there, they're more than welcome to pop in, say hello.
Yeah.
But, yeah. So.
Yeah, but so I'm going to move on now to. I'm going to share a screen to the map, because this is the Rolling Barrage 2022. So,
Oh, wow.
Paul, take it away. Tell us about it. Starting on August 1st.
Yeah, so August 1st, well, actually, we're going to be spending a little bit of time in Halifax for the long weekend. We've got about 20 some odd full pullers this year. So people that are going the full coast-to-coast route. So we've got about, I want to say it's like 23, 24 committed right now. Registrations are opening up. I'll get into that in a bit. Rob kind of let me know that it is live. We're doing some beta testing with our full pullers, and then we'll make a proper announcement that we're good to go. We had a couple glitches over the weekend. We were supposed to launch on the 15th, but the new system that we're running kind of interfered with that. So we'll be in Halifax for a couple of days doing some day rides. Some of us will be heading over to Atlantic Cade on PEI as a warm up, and sort of spread the word to those folks that are over there in PEI. If they've got time off on the Monday, still come out and join us for a leg. From Halifax, we're going to, on the first, kickstands up at 8 in the morning, and we're going to take the South Shore down to Yarmouth, same route that we did last year for those folks that are familiar with that route. Fantastic ride. So it'll be a little bit of coastal riding, a little bit of interior spots. We'll be stopping at a retreat that we supported last year to kind of check in on them, see how it's going. Into Yarmouth, and we'll overnight in Yarmouth, and then we go from Yarmouth up toward Greenwood. I think there's a little stop in Greenwood, and then we're crossing over around the Windsor area and heading up to Amherst, where we overnight in Amherst, Nova Scotia, just before we hit the New Brunswick border. I see Hutch is on the line in the side. He's our Atlantic planner, so he's got more of that detail. I'm trying to stay out of the weeds this year so I can focus on big giant head stuff and keep things rolling with the other two directors on the stuff that we need to do for a foundation piece. But I know that there's some good stuff that they've got planned throughout Nova Scotia right now for those 2 days of riding. Last year was great. We had 35 some odd riders. Oh.
Might have been an audio glitch out of Kevin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we had about 30 some odd riders with us in Nova Scotia last year that stayed with us the entire time, and picked up a couple more in Yarmouth as we went up toward Amherst. So that's great. We cross from Amherst on day 3. We do a straight shot along the coast of New Brunswick, hugging that, going up to Campbellton. And there's a few stops along the way in there, just little memorial stops or lunch stops or whatever Darlene's got planned for us along that edge. Overnight in Campbellton, and then we're across into Quebec, down toward Rimouski, and then we're going to hug a little bit of the St. Lawrence going into Montmagny. Montmagny is our overnight for the next night in Quebec, so just kind of southeast of Quebec City. And from there, we roll along until we're going to stay south of Montreal and stay on the southern shore and cross up toward Cornwall, somewhere in that region is where we'll actually cross into Ontario. And then we're going to stay the southern route this year. Kingston is our next overnight from Montmagny, so it'll be Montmagny to Kingston for that day. We're staying in Kingston, having a few celebrations and a few things that are on the go there. And from Kingston, we're going to go through Orillia by way of Trenton. Last year, we overnighted in Trenton, and this year we're doing a stop in Trenton to repeat the memorial service at the Afghan Memorial. We do quite a few memorial stops. We did Swiss Air 111 last year. We do a few firefighter and other police and emergency service stops if we can find those particular memorials along the way, and we try and change it up each year to keep the flavor going and to get a little bit of expansion into the connections that we make. So our local planners have been doing quite a great job of getting this set up. I think we've almost are ready to finalize our route guides. I think there's a few other little things to plug in for a couple of them, but most of the people have their concept of what's going to happen. So we're way ahead of the curve on this year, which is great and takes a lot of stress and worry off some of us. From Orillia, we go up to North Bay. There's a guy that's trekking across the country on foot. Chad, he's doing C2C for PTSD. So we're going to meet him somewhere in that region and throw him on the back of a bike, I think is what the game plan is, maybe, and bring him up to North Bay, or he's going to meet us in North Bay. I'm not quite sure how that's going to work, but somebody that we supported for his PTSD recovery the year before, and now he's doing this trek. So we're going to try and meet up and do that sort of physical handshake as opposed to the distance handshakes we've been doing with COVID, etc. North Bay to Sault Ste. Marie, Sault Ste. Marie to, I think, Thunder Bay, and then to Dryden. Dryden and Neepawa in one day with a stop in Winnipeg for about a few hours with some things that they've got planned, some great things that they've got planned out there. Neepawa is another one of those touchstone towns for us that's very heartwarming. We were there for the very first time last year, and we're absolutely overwhelmed by the reception that we got. Just amazing with the town coming out. We get great turnout along the way. Like Montmagny has always pulled out the stops for us as we pull into Quebec. The town comes out and they put on a great big do for us, and it's always appreciated. North Bay, when we met in North Bay, was spectacular last year with the base. We went and pulled in on the base in the morning and had a little talk. The mayor was out. Some people from the wing, some first responders were there. So we're looking forward to getting back and seeing that. Neepawa, again, we're going to really be enjoying that piece. Sault Ste. Marie had a big turnout for us. Then we go from Neepawa into Saskatoon. Saskatoon was a great arrival as well. We did a little stop in Yorkton last year. I'm not sure what the routing is like for this leg or for this year's leg. But again, getting people out from the legions that have met us along the way. We've had first responders pull up in fire trucks, ambulances, police cars with lights and sirens going to escort us through areas or just to join us or to be at the stops. So there's always this big aspect of community when we go through. I think we go up to Wainwright or Edmonton. I'm not too sure where it's pointing on that day there.
Bonnyville.
Bonnyville, yeah, thanks. So Bonnyville is the stop after Saskatoon. It's first year we've done Bonnyville. And then we're going up to Fort Mac. I think Fort Mac is the capital of Newfoundland, isn't it? So Fort Mac, and then down to Stony Plain. Stony Plain, we go into Okotoks. So last year, Red Deer was a phenomenal arrival. We're bypassing it just because of the routing. It's too hard to zigzag out. But they had people lined up for miles. Same with Neepawa and Okotoks. They've got people that sit out in lawn chairs or their cars with their kids with signs for miles and miles and miles. And Military Biker joined us in that leg last year at Okotoks and did some videos of that. And that arrival is just, it's life-changing. Those arrivals into towns like that are just absolutely stunning and amazing. So Okotoks is our big touchstone that we have. They've been doing it for years, and giant flags hanging from Calgary Fire ladder trucks, flags that line the entire roadway as we're coming into the last leg before we turn into town. It just the amount of people and the support that we had was absolutely stunning. So sent tingles up the back. I was just stunned when I saw it. I'd heard about it. It was my first full pull last year with BRB, and I couldn't do justice in my head as to what you actually see. And I'm not that great a wordsmith to even do it justice here in the forum. It's something to behold. Okotoks, we head to Cranbrook. Again, another awesome welcome. Daryl did a phenomenal job. Daryl Ennis is our local rep out there. He did a fantastic job setting that up. A great arrival coming in where the town was waiting for us again. And then my favorite, we're doing the number 3 highway on the bottom from the Crow's Nest, past the Frank Slide, tucking into Greenwood, BC, and then up into Merritt. I think we stop in Greenwood overnight. I'm not sure if we're stopping there for a lunch stop or an overnight, but Merritt is a brand new stop. That's where our founder lives, Scott Casey. So we're going to do a celebration in Merritt, and Merritt kind of fell on some hard times too. So it'll be nice to get out there. The hard times being the flooding, and then first the fires, and then the flooding. So they're almost, I think they're on the 7th plague now. I'm not sure which, but they got hit pretty bad with a lot of stuff. So it'll be nice to get out there and see them. And then from Merritt, we're heading right down into Vancouver, my hometown. We'll be pulling into Burnaby for our final stop, and then the full pullers, I believe the Sunday we'll find, we've got a couple ideas for a couple spots that we're going to do our tire dip. So we dip our tires in the Atlantic, and then we dip them in the Pacific to do that full touchstone of this great country. So that's
So
essentially the route.
the people traveling on your tour, is my sound better now, by the way?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought so. I think I fixed it. Are most of the riders from Ontario?
No.
Where are they from mostly?
They are literally all over the country this year.
Okay.
We're going to have full pullers from BC right through. I'm not sure if we have any Atlantic Canadians doing full pulls. Oh no, we do. We've got. I think Steve Vesey is joining us.
Yeah, Steve said he was hoping to come back.
Yeah, and we've had a few people that have joined up that suddenly show up in Halifax and aren't sure if they're going to ride, and before we know it, they're going all the way full pulling. So we've got people coming from all over. There's a few of us from Ontario right now, and then there's a bunch that are all over the place. There's quite I want to say there's about at least a half dozen coming from BC and Alberta. There's another half dozen. I don't know the numbers. I haven't seen all the listing yet. So we've got a little chat group that we're talking to, and I can't remember where everybody's from in that. It becomes kind of a nice little team building exercise before we roll. So.
I know oh crap. There you go. That's what happens when you
Do it all the time.
well, you know what? I sometimes lose my train of thought. It'll come to me. I'll get back to you.
No problem.
That's all part of the fun, Kevin.
I know.
Yeah. So for people watching,
Dave, muted.
20 days. 20 days, and
that's what I was going to ask. Is how long?
Yeah. So it's a 3-week adventure. Some years it's 21 days. This year it's 20. We try to make it go from a long weekend to a weekend. So we always start August long out on the East Coast, and then try to make it in. We've had longer journeys in the past. It's our 6th year of the ride this year. Our 2nd year as a foundation. So it varies and fluctuates a little bit. I think they've had 19 days in other years, but we're trying to keep it pretty standard. We want to arrive on those weekend billets, and there's a few things that we try to hit along the way that are key. So we try to manage all that together and then meet where we're going to go, either north or south on the respective routes to get in, rather than ping-ponging and making extremely long ride days. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now I put up the website, rollingbarrage.com, where you can get a lot of information, including a register link, which, as we mentioned, is live. Craig believes there might actually be in the Nipawa area, potentially. He's keeping his dates kind of flexible. So, so all the details are there when you start looking at where they're going. Mm-hmm. So I highly recommend checking out the website.
What kind of accommodations are you staying in? Is that always hotels with you guys?
Hotels, motels. There are people that camp along the way. We've tried to set up every year where we get specific hotels as and get a deal with them so that we can kind of. It's an expensive ride if you're doing the full pilgrimage. Mm-hmm. So it can get very costly. So we try to get a deal along the way. We've worked a secondary deal out with a hotel chain. We have gone out and we've solicited deals at hotels along the way. We just don't have the horsepower right now to do the camping aspect as well, dedicated, and have planned camping. It is something that we're talking about because there are quite a few, and they tend to do their own thing when they get there, and it doesn't feel like part of that tribe when you got people that are kind of, okay, well, I got to go do but a lot of people do their own thing, and they'll stay at family and friends along the way as well. So it's a bit of a hodgepodge in that aspect, but the primary thing that we do is we are staying in hotels. Majority of the riders aren't comfortable in tents anymore, and I don't want to take my big tent trailer the whole way across. Especially if I'm going to do any road work as a part of the road crew or whatever, it's kind of hard to zip in and out with a giant trailer. So it's great for blocking when you get out on the side, or somebody has a breakdown, you got a nice big footprint there, but not the greatest to weave in and out of the pack. So
Right.
Yeah.
Paul, what's your normal riding day? How many hours do you plan on riding a day?
so we try to keep it max to an 8-hour clock day. Doesn't always work. We want to stay about 500K for the entire day. We try to do it by Ks as opposed to hours, but if you throw in a dedication on that, it's really hard to plan that out. Sometimes we've just got to do a couple of long days. Normally, the northern part of Ontario, cutting through that shield, is a they're 2 long back-to-back days where you're almost 10 to 12 hours from the time you get up to the time you're shutting down.
Right.
So there are some long ones. We try to keep it tight, though, and try to limit how far we're going. But Canada's a big country, and there's some back areas that you can't avoid it. So that's generally how we try to peg the routes. Our route guides are pretty detailed and has a lot of those questions that you'll be looking for. As soon as we get all the individual pieces together, we'll publish that probably around end of June is what we're hoping for. We'll probably have it out a little early, but we're aiming for end of June, like July 1st, to have it out. And then we monitor that for any closures. Like last year in BC, the whole province was on fire. So we were looking at where we were going to index, whether we were going to stop in Okotoks and call, okay, we're quits in there, or we quits in Cranbrook, or are we going to push through? We've got people that live on the coast, so the decision was made. We'll take whoever needs to go home. If it's really bad, the road safety team will go and keep going. There's about 8 of us that are the road crew. We'll take whoever needs to get home rather than letting them fend for themselves on their own, as long as the province will let us. But we would shut the route down, or the actual event down, because if they're dealing with emergency situations out there, we don't want to crowd the roads. That's
Right.
just not fair.
So do you use communications at all to keep your group together? And
Mark 1 fingers for hand signals, and this year we're getting Cardo headsets. So we're working a deal right now. We've got somebody who's come forward to help us in acquiring headsets for the team. So wife and I have them. We use it to just communicate with ourselves and then turn each other off. So, but it works really well. And we did a lot of group riding, her and I, when we got her on the bike and running with CMC out of Winnipeg, and they have a phenomenal command and control system, and they don't use headsets, but they've got a really great signal system, and they break up into packets. So we've adopted some of that into what we try to do in TRB. A lot of times it'll be a big long train of bikes, but sometimes we have to break that down into packets. The beauty that we have last year and this year, though, is the RCMP are fully on board to give us coast-to-coast coverage for traffic blocking. So last year was the first time that they've ever done that. It was fantastic. Their teams were amazing last year. Right from the get-go in Halifax until we parted the seas on the Transcan going into Vancouver. And it literally was like cars were on either side, and we were barreling right through the center, and it was
Did they use cars or motorcycles?
both.
Cool.
So it depends on what their traffic units have along the way. Plus, we have local law enforcement, provincial law enforcement at certain areas. We're hoping that all those will come to play again, but the RCMP is committed, so that'll help us with that big pack. But if we go on our own, that's what the road team is. We got 8 riders that can break up into at least 10 bike packets with a lead and a tail on top of that to get everybody through. You're all getting to the same point at the end, but we can gap that a little bit better, because there's no way that you can block a lane for 30 to 40 minutes or 100 minutes, depending on how many riders you got. It does take that long. Like it's crazy. Like 30 seconds to a full minute, depending on how many bikes we've got, just on the spacing. So suddenly, like 20 bikes in the parking lot looks significant, but on the road, wow. You think it looks a lot more. And then when we do have coming through Ontario, we've had up to 100 bikes in previous years.
I was just going to say, coming through Ontario, especially from Kingston all the way through, and then you're heading up towards Aurelia. I guess you're traveling the 400 series, are you?
A little bit. We'll be deacon in and out on back roads. So we don't like to do just full highway. That's a hard ride all the time,
Okay.
and you don't really see much of the country. And we don't get to those other communities where there's retired first responders and military that are off in the corners, right? So that's part of what it's like. And but we will be doing certain aspects where we're going to have part of the 400 series. So the 401 for part of it, coming from Kingston to Trenton. There'll be a piece of that, which is the Highway to Heroes
Right.
portion. So we'll do a part of that, and then the stop in the Afghan Memorial in Trenton is a touchstone for those that came back under flag. So and we've got a few of those folks that are close and dear to our hearts that we've lost along the way, and it's very emotional. But it's very touching too. And then to see the people turn out, like we're getting more turnout on the side of the roads now, where people are actually coming out once they hear about us. Mostly it's from either the Legion connections that we have, or the first responder connections, or the family and supporters of the riders themselves. We're working on that to get more of the word out, which is why I'm really grateful to be on this program with you guys as well. We're doing a few of these podcasts to try and get that word out and spread the concept. We've used mainstream media a few times. It's hard to get that message out to them to be that big story. It's starting to come forward more, but bigger, better every year. And there's a point where you kind of go, maybe we don't want to get too big. We're already talking about 100 bikes in one leg. Like,
well, the biggest problem I find when you end up with a big group is it's logistics, right?
Yeah.
Like when you talk about like just things like stopping to get gas. It's one thing when it's 6 of you. It's quite another when there's 25 or 50 of you.
We've overwhelmed the gas stations, literally overwhelmed the gas stations, and all of a sudden people are in their cars and they stop right in the middle wherever they're at, freaked out by all these bikes that are swirling around like hornets trying to get into the pumps. Especially if it's a small gas station. We're trying to make sure that we come in more orderly, where we're coming in as a group and everybody get your gas and get out. But at the same time, you suddenly throw in 20 bikes into a fuel stop and they're all wide-eyed. And
same with lunch, right? If you stop for lunch, same thing.
Yeah, we still try to pick areas that we can get all the bikes in and out coordinated without it being a big jam cluster. We not everywhere affords us that, but we've stopped at Legions and stuff too. There's other community halls, and we've had fire halls set up lunches and meals for us along the way as well. So we're starting to see more of that as we play with this, and some of the volunteers have done amazing jobs. Like last year in Nova Scotia, or no, it was in New Brunswick on the Fundy Trail. We stopped at this great little park area, and one of their local clubs provided really, really phenomenal sandwiches for us, and sort of the quasi box lunch, but it wasn't in the box that we were used to in the military. But it was they did a phenomenal job. It was all fresh and delicious, and it was a beautiful day. So we were out in picnic tables and out in the grass, and just a stunning
shameless
day.
promotion. I have a video about it.
Absolutely, flash that. Keeps me from yammering on.
Yeah. So, but yeah. So as many people probably know, I'm a big supporter of Rolling Barrage. I haven't been involved myself for a number of years and ridden in it most years. One of the big things is that it's so welcoming to everybody because everyone can ride. As I flashed up, one day, one leg to the whole thing across Canada. So that's one of the really key things about it. Before we go on to the next point, though, I do want to hit into the side chat because I've seen some new faces and names. Because Mike House is there. I know him, fellow tall guy, victory rider. Thumbs up. He's with the Military Police National Motorcycle Relay, and they arranged for our brunch stop in Greenwood last year.
Yeah, I actually rode with them too. I was reading his comment there. If I can just touch in there, Rob, really quick. Sorry to cut you off, brother.
I was gonna get there. I hadn't got
okay, I'll let you go then.
Yeah, go take his ball and go home.
What Mike is doing is how I started in PRB.
Yeah,
that's exactly how I started. I started with leaving Ottawa out to well, the first year in 2017 was Valcatraz in Valcartier. So I went out, met them, and then rode to Borden with TRB for 3 days, met the MPNMR, the Military Police National Motorcycle Relay for Blind Children, and went back to Ottawa with them. So absolutely love to have you, Mike. Definitely, it's something that we do. I don't know what the dates are with MPNMR. We've always had a problem trying to mesh the gears between the two rides. And it's just, we're building our own monster. They've got their own that they've been doing for a decade and a half. So
yeah, it's usually right in that Aurelia area. They'll stop in Barrie. You'll be in Aurelia. Something around there is usually where those connections are.
So if somebody wanted to join up along the way for part of it or for a day or so, is that possible? Yes.
Absolutely. We had 451 participants last year for 9 riders going coast to coast. So that is people jumping on and off that ride either for, I always like, our lowest fun there, Rob could show it on the registration page. It actually has the breakdowns of what the cost is, but our lowest registration package or registration setup is for 3 days, period. You ride for 1 day or 3 days, it's the same thing. That is done with an intent. And there's a certain, we're calling it more of a pilgrimage than a ride because it is. There is something about this ride that you start to feel very deep inside on day 2 and day 3. So day 1, if you're coming out for a day ride, hey, if that's all you can afford to do time-wise or cash-wise, love to have you. Please come out anyways. But if you can spend a couple of days with us, that's where you start to see the magic. And if you are somebody who's developed PTSD from your service to Canada or her communities through whether you wore a uniform or scrubs or civilian clothes or whatever job you did in the emergency or safety or military communities, come out for a couple of days and you'll get to meet a few people that are like-minded. It's more of a tribe. It's that camaraderie, the brotherhood, sisterhood aspect of things, and then some. And that's what got me in 2017. My first day of my first leg, I met these people, first fuel stop, a couple of guys, and it was like, okay, you guys are pretty cool. They're now brothers to me. Like, we literally are brothers, and we're in the same club on the side outside of TRB, and we've become solid friends that happened off that first year and then progressed every year after that. But there was something that hit me on that first day that it was like, there's something here, and I couldn't put my finger on it, but by the end of that first day, I knew that I had to get my wife on the ride. She's a 2-time Afghanistan vet as a medic, and she has PTSD. It's why she's getting out of the military now. And she rides. It was like, yeah, I got to get Jose on this badly. So the next year I got her onto that ride, and again, it's life-changing. By day 3 or by day 2, you're starting to build that camaraderie piece. By day 3, you start seeing people come out of their shell. And we've literally seen it where people, you can tell that they're talking about their problems for the very first time. Where they haven't talked in therapy, they haven't talked to their counselor. They're bringing stuff up that it's been shut down, locked away, and in a deep, dark cave. And
I refer to it, I tell a lot of people, it is a rolling peer support group. And, some of the guys can talk, like we had a parking lot party in Sussex, New Brunswick last year with pizza and beer and a whole bunch of chairs and a great big circle in the parking lot.
Yeah.
And everyone, those are the comments I'm hearing about. So if Darlene's watching, great job, because people still talk about that parking lot party.
Absolutely. And we have a lot of those impromptu parking lot meetings. I don't know how you really want to say it without getting off the train, but that's what I'm talking about with this magic. So if you're coming out, please try to peg it for a couple of days at least and see what this is about. And I've got a couple of key examples. One is a friend of mine from Manitoba. I touched him on the shoulder last year. We needed some help to get some things organized. We were way behind. He's one of these guru group riders that we rode under in CMC, and he's got a lot of contacts. And I put it to him and I went, hey man, can you give us a hand out in Manitoba? And he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. The guy's never served a day in uniform. He's a civilian. He's had a great career in media. Fantastic guy. And he came out and rode with us to Saskatoon. I think it was he broke in Saskatoon, somewhere in there, to go back to Manitoba, and he came up to me and Harm. This is life changing. I didn't know. I had no idea what I was in for. This is something I've got to be a part of every year, and just to be an aspect and to see what goes on, like the morning dedications to the meals, to what we do at night, to just some of the stuff that happens at those stops, to meeting people. Like, you might not have been in the same situation. I'm Air Force, and my hardest tour is when my air conditioning broke in San Diego. Or I had to cross the street in Hawaii to get to the beach.
Wow.
But at the same time, that life of service where you're gone and you're up in Shemya on an island 90 miles from Russia for a month doing anti-drift net patrols, and your kids going through stuff back home. We all go through that piece. So that piece of service still applies. So I might not have been in the shoes that you've walked in, or had the bullets flying at me, or had the other factors, but I've been stuck in areas and done other stuff that I can relate to. And it's that life of service, and it really is where it comes from, where it doesn't matter what you've done. We understand. Like dispatchers. I've talked to a dispatcher, and she was, and it was outside of the ride, but we talked about it from the ride with PTSD, and she's got a very hard time with what she's had to do from talking to people in their last moments of life or in their greatest terror, trying to save a loved one that's there and they don't know what to do, or they're in some sort of tragedy and they hear that terror. And they're not well known in the community of PTSD. Like, you don't really, everybody thinks of the military first. We have that military privilege, where we have VAC, we have a few other things, and there's communities like the emergency services folks, the paramedics, where sometimes they're fractional and they're tucked in the corner and they're under a fire department and they don't really have their own voice in the community, and everybody recognizes the thin blue line and the thin red line, but there's still that thin white line and the yellow line and the gray line and all these other rainbows that are out there of people that are keeping us safe every day. So we can kind of build on that, and that's what this ride has, that magic piece to it. We're not political. We're a family that's trying to help people with getting past the demons that are in their head from their service.
Paul, if I'm not able to ride with you, how else can I help?
It's an excellent question. Thank you.
Donate button.
Yeah, sure. Right off the bat, there's the donation. And you can donate to just getting people help. You can donate to us to help keep the administrative aspects and building and the growth. It's not a simple thing. We're all volunteers that are doing this. We're not paid. I have a day job. I have three full-time jobs now with the foundation, the ride, and my work in the Air Force. Volunteering in the background to help with organizing stuff. Hey, just come out to the side of the road. If you can't make the ride, but we're passing by your town, come out to the roadside, throw up a few signs and a flag, and just give us a wave. Like that means a lot. When you're driving down the middle of nowhere on this giant country that we have, and all of a sudden there's somebody with a sign that says, "Thank you, Rolling Barrage," or "Thank you for your service," or "Thank you, 911ers," or like, there's all sorts of things that we've seen on these signs. And to see that, oh my God, is it ever spectacular, I'm sure there's other people that have been in this ride that could say the same thing that are in the comments. I know Hutch is another one that jumped on board to help. He came by as riding for his brother, and I shouldn't talk too much. It's his thing, but he's come by to help us, and that's an amazing piece. And we have people that have come forward like that because of it. And so, what can you do? What can you do?
Mm-hmm.
Rob, Paul's comment, put that up.
Yeah. So the definitely, as you can see, Paul, welcome to the side chat. I haven't had a chance to say hello.
Shameless self-promotion.
Yeah, exactly. And,
Shameless promotion.
yeah, and so there is merchandise available. Keep an eye out on the website for when it comes up.
It's actually under design and reorder right now. So we've got our printer is putting stuff together for our restocking and resupplying. We have a little bit of stuff left over from last year. Our our long sleeve limited edition shirts sold out before they even left the printer last year, and we did a limited run because we didn't know how much we were doing when we took over on our own, because we wanted to make sure that we're not overstocking. So we've bumped the numbers up this year. There will be shirts and some other stuff, and we've got some new little mini swag items and some other wonderful things put together that'll make it pretty special this year. So, but we do use the merchandise for our growth. Advertising as well, to see people with Rolling Barrage shirts walking around and seeing them on their Facebook pages and stuff too, gets that word out. So
I'm going to ask a really stupid question, but because that's what I do. But when you guys roll in, is there any kind of like a sign or anything on your bikes that says this is what we're doing?
Yep. We do our main bikes will have a few decals. Some people carry little flags of the Rolling Barrage. We are working to have a support trailer again this year, where it'll be emblazoned with larger decals, and our gun bike, which sleeve am I at here? So that's the gun bike, and then I'm not going to turn around and model the shirt. You can look at it online when we. But we do have that. The problem with emblazoning the bikes, though, you're going past people on the highway for that 2-second clip, and they're looking at you or they're looking at your vest. Like, a lot of people are wearing their military vests, whether it's UN NATO or it's Defenders or it's.
Well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is how would we, if I saw you going down the road, how would we identify that that's what you guys are doing? Like, is there, you know?
Yeah, it's a challenge for us. The bikes this year, we should have a few that are labeled. We're getting decals built for those bikes, for the lead bike and the tail gunner, so they should be decaled. It's not practical to be carrying a large banner behind a bike. So we've had people that have carried the big flags in the past, but it eats up a lot of fuel on a long trip. So all that we can say is watch for the schedule. Our kickstands up is normally 8 o'clock in the mornings. Our route guides will be there. We'll have them published well before the ride. So go to our website. It'll be there for a downloadable PDF. And it'll tell you where we're going to be roughly at what times, so you can kind of interpolate and then be looking for us. And chances are you see a group of bikes that's coming through, that's going to be us. And then that's about all I can say right now from a distance.
And what time of day do you usually stop?
Again, depending on that leg, in and around 5 o'clock. Sometimes it's 2 o'clock. Sometimes it's 7. Depends on how long.
So still during the day.
Yeah. We're not running at night. We index definitely well before dark. We can't do that. It's too dangerous with the different experience levels that we have in the ride. We've got novices. We've got decade novices. They're my favorite. They're the people that have been riding for decades and have tons of experience, but have done nothing in a large group. And they'll come to the table and they've got amazing skills handling their bike, but they do not understand the concept of what we're doing. And you can see it like right away. And all of a sudden they've got a longer gap than they would normally have. And we have to plan that all the way through. So there's a good mix of experience levels. And then we got people who have been riding knuckle to knuckle for decades. So, my wife and I ride knuckle to knuckle when we're not in TRB. So.
Yeah. And so it is. That's where the big thing of doing things like this is getting the word out. Like, Kevin's involved in CMC. Paul's been doing really good at singing their praises.
Yeah.
Dave's involved in Hog, so that's going to help us get the word to some of those groups that it's coming, and that way it helps get that awareness of the ride coming through. Back to side chat. 2 Wheel for Fun is checked in.
That's Tony Reno.
Yeah. And
he was stationed over in Italy for a big part, wasn't he, Kev?
And, yeah, I just met him. I met him on Friday.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What, Tony was at Friday the 13th?
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I shouldn't have hung around the beer garden so much.
I missed you, but I found him.
Yeah. And Rip Tear is also in the side chat. Just seeing who else has popped in.
Can I
Travis,
just
not
touch
done
back
life
on that
is
studio
good.
for fun comment there, Rob, if you don't mind? What he had to say had a very poignant piece
Yep.
there about not knowing that he was suffering from PTSD and the things that he's been jumping at and reacting from. And that's something that our ride and this pilgrimage has a big part to play in it. And one of the biggest things about PTSD is hypervigilance. It's one of the biggest symptoms of it, or the effects of PTSD, where you become hypervigilant, and it's very hard to stay focused and engaged in life when you're just everything's on fire. Riding a bike, you have to be hypervigilant, your head on a swivel to stay alive. And it actually becomes therapeutic, where you can take this thing that's normally a pressure piece and turn it into a useful skill. And just about people who don't know what they're going through suddenly coming to an awareness. Last year we had 5, it's our success story for last year. We had 5 first responders who'd been suffering in silence on their own, battling it by themselves. So a mix of police and fire from across the country, 5 people that came forward after interacting with us, whether they rode with us, whether they provided traffic services, whether they met us at the fire hall. I don't know. We try to keep the privacy piece for obvious reasons. But the big factor is they came forward after interacting with us to their chains of command in the fall to get help. And that was a very, very important piece for us to go, okay, we really are making a difference other than what we see. You're welcome. And thank you for bringing up the comment, Tony. I appreciate that. His answer there in the side chat. So yeah, again, thanks for bringing that on. It's exactly what we're about. And that's the toughest thing. Mike, yeah, please come out. Hopefully we'll get a chance to see you on what we're doing. I've run into so many people that have had that. We've had the success stories too, where somebody's come out where they're on fire, they're having a helmet fire, and they're just, you know what, I'll make it to the first fuel stop or whatever. I just wanted to see what this is about. My wife is pushing me to come out and see it. And then they ride a little bit more and a little bit more, and next thing they're tire dipping on the West Coast. And we had a former paramedic who did exactly that, showed up for a day and rode all the way across the country. Last year we had the same thing with a former service member out of the military who showed up at the Montana's dinner and said, I don't know if my bike's even going to make it or if I can make it, but I'm going to try. And sure enough, I got another brother out of that who's out in PEI. So
yeah, I was talking to him just
yeah, I shouldn't go too much into the personal details, though. I have to be mindful of that. He's not here to speak for himself.
Yeah, no, but I was chatting with him at the Blessing of the Bikes. Same with I was chatting with Mike too, because Ian and I went to that.
Good. Yeah, I did see the video of you guys. Ian's first video there. So
yeah, I haven't put mine out yet, so I don't want to say too much about Ian's video.
Gotcha. Yeah. And then there's Scouts popping in about 48 hours of spending time with friends he never knew he had, and it was the same thing. Scouts is my second favorite fella from Liverpool. The first being Dave Lister. So for those that are Red Dwarf fans.
I'll let everyone in on a little secret. If you wait till the end, there's that 48 hours is coming up.
Yeah, and he's another one of these people that we just kind of met, and then you just click with, and you just have this. There was him and Kevin and Tiny that were there with him that showed up in Jasper, and it's like all of a sudden you're feeling that kindred connection, and it's like, wow, more friends to look forward to seeing in future years. So
yeah,
I can't tout it enough.
So Kevin, Dave, have we got you hooked yet?
Oh, totally.
You know what? I'm going to email my son and tell him he has to move his wedding from Greece in August to another date so I can come on this. But I don't know if I'll be successful, but
you know what? I'm going to look into this because I may be able to go for at least a day or two.
Yeah. And that's why I asked. You know what? I'll definitely donate and definitely look for. I didn't buy a Friday the 13th T-shirt because I got too many of them.
I didn't either.
Paul, I'm going to buy one of your Barrage as long as I can get there.
Absolutely.
Before they sell out.
Yeah, we are. We've actually got athletic versions this last year and this year. We're carrying them over, so they're that athletic dry fit material. So rather than the cotton, they breathe and feel so nice under heavy gear. If you're an all the gear all the time rider, I definitely recommend those. They fit snug though. Like for me, it looks like a sausage casing, so I go up a few sizes. But
I'm familiar with that.
yeah. But yeah, I've got 101 black T-shirts as well, and
Yeah.
turn them into a quilt.
Well, I'm certainly glad that you put us all in the athletic category. I don't think my wife has ever bought me anything athletic, but anyway.
Belly flop, sumo wrestlers, they're all conditioned athletes.
There we go. Very good.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm curious. What's behind you? It looks like you're in a classroom, or is this your planning room, or
So it is my brain trust down here. So I'm in the basement. This is my basement office. So with COVID and my military auditing career right now for auditing the maintenance programs across the country, we've been doing it remotely. I've been working out of here, but this is Rolling Barrage stuff that when we took over from Scott Casey in 2020, they were key things that needed to be done and need to be keep going, and they're little reminders that we can brainstorm and make sure that we're going forward. We moved a bunch of stuff electronic, and it still comes back down to the giant post-it notes on the wall.
Right.
They do migrate. They're not just wallpaper anymore. There's stuff that's been happening with them, so it's been good stuff. I actually got rid of all the work ones. I had one for my day job as well, but I got rid of them. This needed more priority.
Yeah.
Mike was asking if the shirts come in any color, or is it any color as long as it's black?
We're picking up our store and who we've got to manage our merchandise is there. It's always been a volunteer basis, and that's a struggle because the more stock you got, the harder it is to maintain all that. So we've had a few colors over the course of years, and then you get stuck with ones that aren't popular. So right now we are focusing on the black. We do have some leftover gray shirts that Rob's wearing from a previous year. The limited edition shirts are always a different color every year. So this year they're going to be forest green for the long sleeve limited edition. We are working on a unique piece that's coming up. I won't break it in, but it happens on Fridays. But we're working with somebody on that. We're not sure if we're going to be able to make that happen this year with the amount of stock that we have to go. And if we have a trailer to bring it with us, that helps. If not, we've got to ship it all before the ride, and then we shut shipments down as we go to set up. So we're in this little Ouroboros of we've got to get it out, but at the same time we've got to do other stuff. So we're kind of at these little fun pieces, and that's the building blocks that we're doing with what we did. And we watched what had happened in the previous administrations where a lot of stuff got ordered and said we'll sell it eventually, and it was stuck. And we don't want to run into that because every stuck dollar is somebody that can't get help. And we made almost $65,000 in donations alone last year. And
that's amazing.
Year. And all of that's gone out. Like every nickel has gone out of that of those items. Our administration fees for the registration that goes to our admin costs, and then the merchandise is a hamstring between the or a flex. I don't know how you want to phrase it, but between growth and between support and between what we need to do. So that's how we kind of break the money out.
There's cost effective no matter what you do. When you run an event, there's costs.
Yeah, absolutely, and and we're trying to do better. We're looking at ways that we can make this more of, how do we do that therapy piece, and how do we look at what we do, and we've changed how TRB's money is being used starting last year. We went to Maslow's hierarchy of needs as our baseline. So that's on our donation page. There's a little diagram that shows Maslow's triangle, and the base is the food, fire, shelter, and then you build up to the pinnacle, which is all the cerebral activity stuff. And we try to sit in that middle to lower third piece to operate in that, and that's where we go and look. And then we've got a pie chart where all that money's gone in, and we've allocated money into where we think it needs to be, and then based on the budget, that percentage comes out from there. So that's how we're using the money. and we want to make sure that we use it smartly. The nice thing is with the grassroots, there's a lot of grassroots organizations out there, and they do great work, but it's not standardized, and everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and it's all over the place. And that's what we found out is like we were walking into some issues where, wow, we might not want to work on this. Maybe we want to be better than this. We don't want to hurt somebody accidentally. And, we had that where my wife went for treatment outside of TRB. It had nothing to do with who we were supporting, but there was a group, and she went in for help, and they were very highly touted, and she came out worse than she went in. And it was very critical when she came out. Fortunately, her and I have a very, very solid relationship that we're there for each other, and one of us will watch each other's backs in a restaurant so we can both be comfortable. So we had that piece to us when she came out, and it was like watching what they did, and then to find out that they actually had a sexual offender as one of their counselors, knowingly. We kind of went, that was dealing with the women's cohorts, and it was like, we are not going to do stuff like this going forward. And we are going to make sure that we use this wisely and make sure that people are covered. So we started vetting, and everybody that we give money to, we vet. They got to be transparent. And it's already come to the point where we've had to sever the ties with a couple of places because they're not transparent and we're not sure what's going on. And we can't in good faith of the people that we're trying to help put them in a potential negative situation or something that's adverse and is not helping.
Yeah.
So that's
So,
where we're at.
so Paul, do you have agencies contacting you,
Yep.
looking for you to donate to their facilities?
Yep. As soon as you say you're a fundraiser, everybody comes out looking for money. But it's true, and that's a good thing. We had somebody who came out to give a speech in Red Deer. She was a former paramedic, I believe, and she was struggling, and she had gotten a dog, and she came out just to talk about the program that she's with, that's helping her. And it wasn't even an ask, but when we looked at it and saw what's going on with it, and it was Courageous Companions, which is service dogs, we thought, you know what, they're a good organization, and we did a little vetting and looking into it, and then took a deeper dive into it after we got back from the ride. But we did dedicate money to help with her acquisition of her dog. It's $20,000 to get a dog. We could go out and just buy 3 dogs and there's the $60,000, but there's other people that are going, we helped with Can Practice. We gave them some money. We wanted to give more, but we've got to look at what we're doing in that hierarchy of needs to make sure that we're touching on the right things in the right ways. We gave to food banks, and they're not military or first responder specific either. There were veteran ones as well, but we kind of looked at it and went, watching a program about a paramedic who was on the streets of Vancouver as a drug user himself when he fell off the rails and then came back onto it, and seeing what the people in East Hastings go through. I grew up in Vancouver. I'm very familiar with that life, not from an experience, but from seeing it going downtown, etc., and seeing that destitution where they haven't even got a meal. So right down to the bottom of Maslow's, let's get them some food. So we've given to food banks, we've given to equine therapy, we've supported a retreat on the East Coast. We bought a bunch of meditation headbands called the Muse S, and used our buying leverage, which we actually found we have a little bit of leverage now, to support 30 RCMP officers and 2 firefighters in Nova Scotia at an event in December, at a thank you event for them where they were getting quilts of valor and other thank yous. We were approached by them to say, hey, can you throw some shirts or something and just make a package? And we went, and the other director, Josie, she took a solid look and went, no, you know what, we can do better than this. Let's see if we can get them some real time therapy. So we went and bought these items, and we have a few left out of that purchase that we'll be donating or giving or working with around the country as we go this year. We were able to do that piece, and that's a really good thing to be able to do. And getting training out for Rally Point Retreat so that they can get some peer support training under their belt and up that level of care. That's what we're trying to do. That's what our mission is.
Well, this sounds like such a great thing you're doing. We'll make sure that, like Rob, you're going to have all of the links for everything in the description.
Well, they're
And,
already in the description. They're pinned at the top of the site.
Oh,
chat.
you are the best.
Yeah.
And and hopefully we can get a few more people joining you guys along.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, and again, I always say, even if you can't get out and ride, you know, if work is, you know, all you've got is your lunch hour and you happen to know that we're coming by that area, hop onto that side of the road, meet us at a stop. Like if maybe we're not coming to your town, maybe it's only an hour to drive down, please do. Like, you know, we've had people do that, and that is a pretty special piece. Like we do appreciate when folks come out.
Yeah. So to Kevin's point, he asked this earlier about how do people know that you're coming by. Have you ever thought of putting a rider out in front of you, a day or a half day ahead of you? You know, bringing awareness to the communities that you are coming through.
We've looked at, well, not specifically in that manner, but we've looked at, and we're going to try and do it this year. If our support vehicle and the trailer works, they're going to be an advanced party. So they'll be at the morning registrations, and then as we go, we're going to pull off and do stuff. They're going to keep barreling, and the intent is to have them on ground at the final stop, or maybe at the lunch stop about an hour or two before we get there. They can sell merch. They can do pre-registration for those that need help with the registration. We're focusing online registration this year, and I want to make that point just extra clear. Last year, it was paper-based. There was some online registration, but there was still a lot of paper. So that means if we don't have a support vehicle, it's stuck in a saddlebag, and you're doing the Pony Express route with thousands of dollars, and you don't have a armed security detail. Not a comfortable thing walking into the bank. Fortunately, it was a small town, and I was able to deke in, do the deposit. But I don't want to have that for the riders this year, or stack of paper that we have to manage to get back and then go all the way through. So to make it more effective and efficient, because it's a volunteer group, we've gone to online registration. We'll see if we have a little bit of paper-based this year, but the price will be more if you show up on ground the day of. The price will be more than registering online.
Right. And the question for you, I guess there's so many ways to mark what a successful event is. What would be your personal goal for this event?
For this year, or the event in general?
For this year.
I would really like to see us climb into the six-figure donations. I think that would be a little much, though. If we can get to the $80,000 mark this year, that would be a good success. If we can get more people out and in contact with us that have helped, that are getting help, that we can actually find out that it's making a difference. Yep, that would be a success for us as well. Just having people come out and telling their stories, or just being part of it. There's there's multifacets to what this is a success for. Just bigger, better, more of. That's
literally this moving, I just say pilgrimage is in itself, getting to the West Coast is success, because it's collected people on its way. And it's, I've said, it's a rolling peer support group that just, does good on its way.
Yeah, one of the things that we would like to do is to actually get it as a recognized therapy. There was a study done about motorcycling with PTSD that came out from the Florian Knights video. For those that haven't seen it, check it out. It's amazing. But there was a study done about motorcycling, and with us, it's motorcycling and then group riding, group therapy, kindredship. It just keeps getting more and more about what this giant hug is. And, it literally, like I said, it's literally a tribe. And I got friends that I'll never lose now, even if I only see them once a year. And it happens every year. It's running into people that I haven't seen in a year, and it's good to see them. And the big success is knowing that somebody who is maybe on making that decision not to carry forward is with us again the next year. That's another piece that I call them the silent sentinels, or the silent survivors, the silhouette survivors, the ones that maybe have lived through taking their life. that's they're an important piece, and they get the extra stigma of feeling that they failed in not killing themselves. And for me, it's a success that we lived through it, and I want to make sure that they're still around the next year and the year after that. So if we can do that and make that connection, that's a success too. So how does the registration work? Basically, you go online, follow the bouncing balls. We've got some big policies to read through this year. There's reasons behind it. Please do. You check the commit buttons or the accepts. Pay the registration fee. You'll get an email that shows your registration number, and all you do is just show up with that on your phone and say, "I'm registered," and you're good to go. Just make sure you've got that with you when you ride. Your waiver is done online already with that registration process, and then we get it all electronic, and we actually get a spreadsheet that we can look through if there's any discrepancy to show your proof of payment and or the little registration number that you get. And that's probably the best way to do it. You pay by the day. It's by the segment. So there's a 1 to 3 day, and then there's a 4 to 6, and then there's a 7+. We've got a few metrics that we've thrown in there for questions as well to make sure that we understand that dynamic of who's with us and where they're on and off. And we have to let the police know ahead of time how many are coming through, and having people suddenly showing up the morning of it's the other reason why we're going to this online registration is people that are waiting to feed us or waiting to traffic block for us need to know the numbers coming. So please get online and do your registrations rather than showing up the day of. I know it's nice just to be here's my $30 or my $100 or whatever I'm riding for whatever. That's great, but it does cause some difficulties for us to make sure that all 451 or more, hopefully we'll be at the 800 again this year with the borders being open. 2019, I believe it was 800 participants that were registered. So we're hoping to get back up to that. My ultimate goal before I leave this chair would be to have us at the $1,000 and the $100,000 level, and free floating, self-generating, and all the processes are in place for everybody. So.
Wow.
Good.
Yeah.
Good.
So
Cool.
you've talked a bit about your dreams of the future a little bit. Because now it is a PTSD foundation.
Yes.
And the Rolling Barrage is an event within the foundation.
Correct.
So what are some of those nuances, and what are the big hairy ass goals?
So again, great questions. We've posted them up on the website too. So you can go to the About Us page and to actually let me see if I can guide you to the right page. I want to say it's in the About page, and then there's About Us where we actually of course I'm clicking and not talking, so that makes it very difficult. I'm not very good at that. So we have a thing about our goals. Maybe it's on the donation page. I should have done this ahead of time and surfed our own page. It's we've gone through a big change on our page to make it more accessible and available.
No, it's all the drop down menus on the About Us. I just put the link in the side chat.
Okay, perfect. So those are our big goals. I would like to see the big thing for me. And for the other two, like, it's not just me. I keep saying me, and I got to get out of that. I was the national single point last year, and with a team of 30 behind me backing this up. But now we've got 2 other directors that are on board, and we have goals that we have set and where we want to take this. And to actually get this recognized as a true therapy would be one of those big goals for the future. One of the goals for this year is just to make sure that we've got the foundation built and solid, and we don't have the gaps and holes that may have plagued previous entities. We did ride with somebody or for somebody else before. It became more about us than them, and they had internal stuff that they had to do and problems, so they shut down, and it was our 3rd quarter of planning. So April 29th of last year, we went to Corporations Canada and became our own not-for-profit, and it was a blessing in disguise. It was a lot to suddenly learn and get into another giant learning curve and chase another freight train. But I'm glad we did it. We're doing it right. We're doing it cleaner. We're doing it better. for the right reasons, and not to admonish whoever had come before us. They all did good work. We just want to make sure that, you know, we took the lessons that had to be learned and we are applying them. So what's my big goals is leaving this in a better place and turnkey for the next person, where it's not a 24-hour day job every day to make it happen, and that people have the supports in place. One of the other things is that we're helping our own. Something that we did notice when my wife took a knee. You're part of the group. It didn't really show, and we want to make sure that we're watching out for our own. And we've had a few people have to put a hand up and take a knee, and we're there for them, not just we're there for everybody else. It's, you know, I was saying last year, this ride's not about us, it's about you. We're here for you, but it is about us. There's people that are riding on this ride and that are in those ranks and in that road safety team that are hurting too. So it is their ride as well. And the message I'm trying to get out is, hey, you know, we're trying to be here for you, but we are here for everybody, and it's very inclusive. And that's, once we get that messaging melded and it's joint in, and it doesn't matter whether you're a first responder or military or Corrections Canada or CBSA, or whether you were a dispatcher, you're part of that fold. You're a tow truck driver who was on the side of the road in a massive accident and seeing the carnage and trying to pick pieces up and go home to your family. You're part of that community that helps us. You're the ones that are standing on the line. The emergency service providers, the healthcare workers in the emergency wards that see that they're second line, but they're first line too. You know, like it's kind of a spillover. They're not first line directly at the scene, but they're still in that aftermath of that traumatic care. You know, we look at all sorts of things beyond that on a case by case basis. But once we get that sense of family melded, I think that's where we will be a true success. And that's our. Yes, donations for people in the States and can't go to the ride and wish to contribute. It'll just get taken off in Canadian funds. So you get a 25% discount off the bat due to the exchange of the dollar. Or 30% or whatever it is. I don't know what the inflation rate's at now. So yeah, just it'll be taken in Canadian funds and applied to your credit card if you donate that way. You can hit our donate page, and Rob, if you can just show them really quick.
Yep. Just working on calling some of that stuff up. And
there's another question about the do we allow all patches and stuff? I'll get to that afterwards.
Yeah. I'm just trying to find the page where it went. There we go. So I'll share the website again. What was the question again? I've already forgotten.
Donate page.
Donate page.
Up at the top. Yeah.
So you can hit the donate button here, or if you go to the shop page, you can actually, they have different donation amounts that can just be added to your bill when you're registering or buying a shirt.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just throwing that out there.
And we tried to pick bills
that $95.
Yeah. We tried to pick bills that kind of meant something for, you know, we got a couple of military ones. There's the RCMP ride. You know, the Gord Downey one was just, hey, it was.
I love that RCMP one. It's the Canadian,
the old 50. Yeah.
Well, the Canadian firing squad.
Yeah. Yeah, by Lance. So yeah, that's our donate page. Again, it's processed by credit card, so it's available that way. We do get people on site that give us cash too, but the question was for those that aren't going to be up or able to be with us. Yes, thank you very much for your support as well. 602 North, thank you, much appreciated.
Now I'll throw out the caveat. You're not yet a CRA charity, so you can't give tax deductible receipts.
That's our other lofty goal, is to become CRA recognized as a charity. We're not for profit right now. We can give you an what do they call that? Not a receipt, but an accounting. I forget. There's a term for it, and I've just brain dumped. but it's like a receipt, but it allows you just to say, yeah, as a corporation, we spent this money for you to give to the accountant, but you can't use it for tax purposes.
Right.
So the 1% and the patches and who can wear what. So we're all inclusive. We don't, we're not a police agency. We don't, we're not law enforcement. We have law enforcement members with us and embedded in our ride. And anybody can wear whatever they want as long as it doesn't bring discredit upon us and passes the Globe and Mail test. So a lot of people wear their military or first responder motorcycling vests, red knights, blue knights. There's a few law enforcement MCs that showed up along the way with us last year, from Shotgun Leo to Punishers. There's UN NATO vets. There's all sorts of people that come out of the woodwork. Like we had, I think, a picture of 30 vests or something that's in one of our pictures that's on the registration page. And so, yeah, as long as it's not anything highly political or negative, or that somebody on the side might be offended by, wear what you want. As far as the 1% is concerned, we don't have an active program for or against them. We can't align with 1%ers. We have law enforcement and military who have security clearances that have orders not to associate. We can't have them as a club come in and ride with us. So,
but also is by stating.
And we've stated that, we do have that in our code of conduct policy that's more robust this year. And, it's a big read, but it's important. So how does it work? As long as it doesn't have any tie to a criminal organization or to a 1%, not that 1%ers are criminals, but if it's a criminal entity, if it's a 1% entity, it just has a negative connotation that we can't abide by. We lose our police support for the traffic, and you're riding with Leos. So if normally 1%ers don't get along with Leos, law enforcement officers.
And so they will keep their distance from the ride because of the law enforcement participation.
And we've had a few people that have shown up with support patches. We've asked them please to not ride with them on the ride or take part.
Or an ABCAB.
Yeah. So again, it's we have to maintain our main mission and who we're after, and we're supporting law enforcement as much as the veterans, the military. I realize that there's veterans that are in those organizations that are suffering from PTSD and are hurt. We want to be there for them as well, but it'll have to be as a private individual or a private citizen, and on the side or on the secondary. We can't actively engage or participate with those organizations. It's just the way that life is. I would love to see the world come to a better place on that, but it's not my mission, and it's not our mission, and it's not where we're at this time. I hope that answers that in the right way.
If not, Mike, give me a shout. We can meet up, but I can talk to you more about it.
Well, I think the main message here: if you have a political agenda, leave it at home. This is for a group of people that are in need of our support. And, for one day, leave your colors at home. Come out and support and donate.
Yeah, and I know that there's some that are out there that have supported and helped, and that aren't wearing their colors and may be on the ride. I'm sure that there are. It's a big country, and it's a small amount of people per capita. So, there's potential, but we don't actively go seeking it. They don't actively display it, and we go copacetic in that manner. I don't want to harp on it. But you're right. If it's the messaging that we're trying to get out there, we're not political. There was another political event that had the same name. We had to put a statement out to say we're not the same people, and we don't know what's going to go on with that. And if you got people that are going to get arrested, it's going to taint what we're doing. Whether we agree with what you're doing or whether we disagree with what you're doing isn't the point. We're not political. This is about a ride that's there to help people. You have your mission, we have ours, and we're just staying in the lanes. We had to make it as clear and cut as we could. Some didn't like that. I'm unapologetically myself. We are unapologetically ourselves. We are doing what we need to do to stay on point and on mission, and that's all that I can say about that. Can we do it better, cleaner, in the future? Yeah, but there was very little dialogue this year from them to anybody other than their political stance. So, what can you do?
Yeah.
But on that note of agenda, we are at over an hour and 40 minutes. So I'm just going to sort of do a around the horn for us to start working on our closing remarks. Kevin, I'll let you start, seeing as I believe you're hosting next week.
Am I? Am I hosting next week? Okay.
Okay, I guess we'll figure that out in a messenger chat.
My shout outs are just, anybody who can contribute or help with the Rolling Barrage. I would encourage you to do so. Definitely check out the links in the description and take a look and see if there's somewhere along the way where you could at least wave and say hi. If you wanted to donate or buy merch, that would be awesome. And I really, my only shout out is to some of the moto vloggers that came up to me at Friday the 13th. This is the first time I will admit that I went somewhere and was recognized as Superman Kev. I got recognized about 5 or 6 times, and all people I did not know. And they came up to me and said, "Hey, I've been watching your stuff, and and watching the live stream, and hey, thanks for what you do." And I was just blown away. So shout out to those folks to say thanks for saying hi. And that's about all I have to say.
Well, first of all, Paul, I'd like to thank you for your service. I'd like to thank you for what you're doing for people in need. It's a great event, a great cause. Unfortunately, I'm going to be out of the country in August, but definitely you'll see me wearing one of your shirts.
That's awesome.
And donating, right?
And Dave, thank you. About the thank you for the service. Thanks for the recognition on that, and you're welcome. It's why I stood up 30 years ago to join third generation Air Force. It was a service piece that I just could not go. This country meant too much to me, but I appreciate those comments, so thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. I look forward to the one day we do get to ride together.
That'd be awesome. That'd
Right.
be awesome.
Okay, so Harm, before I hand it over to you, big shout out to 602 North, who says he kicked in a donation. So
I see that. Thank you very much.
And so I'll hand it over to you before I close things off, because as I've done before, I do take a little bit of a page out of the Military Biker's Handbook. So I'll let you do your
absolutely. I want to. First off, Rob, Kevin, Dave, just in order of how I see you on the screen. Thank you very much for having me on the show today to talk about what we're doing and give us another avenue of visibility. And of course, everybody that popped into the chat and asked the questions was very good to see what was coming up. So thank you for that. And for those that like 602 North, who already donated, and for some of the questions and the comments back from Mike, Tom, and Viper, and from Angel Face, thank you very much. Again, don't be shy. Come out and say hello. Just let me know where you've seen me from, so I don't do my usual standard of, "Oh, you watch a lot of porn." Okay. I gotta mind my P's and Q's, or I get in trouble. Even the big guy. Okay?
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Thanks for everyone in the side chat. Nice and active today. We enjoy seeing that. So check out the rollingbarrage.com. You can subscribe to get email updates if they start doing that. They're on most of the social media platforms, including YouTube channel, where they have some of the videos. Like they talk about the parting of the seas in Vancouver. Nigel, one of the repeat offenders for full poles, he's got some neat video of it, things like that. So it's worth checking out. And now to close, I've blatantly stolen this from the Military Biker, who ends his live streams with a playing of the Unsung Heroes. I'm bouncing around which videos I do, but I would like to basically do something the military biker did that he gave to the Rolling Barrage to use. And I'll let that play now. And thanks everyone for coming. And here it comes.
As I look back on the last 48 hours, I would have to say that it's certainly been a 48 hours to remember. A tiny snippet in a ride that lasts for 3 weeks, starting at one side of Canada and ending in the other, Atlantic coast to Pacific coast. I shared this ride with some amazing people with a common goal, a goal to combat PTSD and to bring mental health to the forefront of people's minds, even if it's only for a short while. As we travelled through this spectacular scenery, I couldn't help but think about the guys who will never get to see this stunning road or take part in such a meaningful event. This ride draws out emotions and memories that are normally tucked away in the back of your mind. I couldn't help but think about the friends that I've lost over the years, amazing soldiers whose lives were taken in the blink of an eye. Real men who were not afraid to put their life on the line for the country. I guarantee I was not the only one thinking of absent friends while we rode. Listening to the words of the Calgary firefighter outside the Royal Canadian Legion in Jasper, who lost his friend in 2020, certainly brought home the importance of the ride and why I rode 7 hours in torrential rain to get to the meeting point in Jasper. It's the little things in life that make the greatest difference. And spending time with my mates and meeting great people on the way made me feel like I didn't have a worry in the world, even if it was only for 48 hours. Remember, when you're not feeling yourself, there's always someone to talk to, someone to lend a helping hand, someone to bring you out of the darkness and into the light. There's always someone to support you. Look at the amount of people that came out to support the ride along the way. Good people, kind people, people like you and me. So if you're struggling, get the help you deserve. The piece of us that we thought had been taken from us, it hasn't gone forever. It's only been loaned to the demons. And that's just it. It's only a loan. It's time to bring it back where it belongs. It's how you get it back that matters. Don't suffer in silence. A big thank you to all those involved in bringing the Rolling Barrage together. Outstanding job. Maybe next year I can do the football, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks for watching the vlog. I hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Give it a thumbs up. And if you're new to the channel, then please think about subscribing. I always sign off with the same 4 words, and in this instance, they couldn't be more true. See you on the next one, and remember, you'll never walk alone.
Rob, pay your internet bill.